This is Drop Tent Media Network.
Seriously, Dad?
Seriously, Dad? Two father comedians out of Philadelphia. Seriously, Dad?
Dad? Seriously?
Dad?
Seriously? Seriously?
Yo, welcome back. Season 2. Seriously Dead.
Hey.
That's a radio voice. Yeah, Bigos. Scott Bigos has a great radio voice.
Hey, welcome to Seriously
Dead.
Podcast.
Here we go, man.
Fireside chat. No, I was just telling you, I think it's been a tough 2 weeks. 2 weeks of like thinking about everything I'm putting in my body food wise, and it's fucking exhausting.
The summer's the most exhausting time to do that. First off, there's so much good food around in the summer.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna lock myself in my house and go nowhere for 2 weeks so that I can control the environment.
Yeah, but the key is, man, you pick like 5 to 10 things that you can eat, and then you're just gonna end up eating those for the rest of your life.
That's basically is been chicken or salmon
Yep.
as the like protein, and then just vegetables, mostly steam bags of like broccoli, because my daughters will also eat broccoli.
There you go.
So I'm just like loading up on broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Like those are my go-tos. Green beans and just steam bags.
There you go.
Steam bag. They got the air fryer.
Yep.
And
Egg. Probably
bling.
eggs, right?
Oh,
Like
so then my
nuts,
morning. That's my
cheese,
breakfast. So my breakfast is like 4 egg whites, 1 yolk. And then I do these 2 Morning Star sausage patty.
Okay.
They're like, veggie patties or whatever.
They have soy in them. Be careful. You
It's
don't want that
soy.
Oh, you don't want the soy.
Why?
Soy is for dudes is not the best.
What is it? What's happening to me?
Estrogen.
Oh, I'm trying to make my titties go down.
I heard the opposite of that, weirdly enough. But yeah, there was another.
All right, now I'm gonna have to check this out. All right, but so that's been my morning. Those and that's that. Then like after that, it's just 4 more meals. Normally one of them something like a Quest bar and some almonds, or like a shake if I work out, like a protein shake with like a banana in it.
Do you have mixed nuts in your car by any chance?
So I do have almonds.
In your car, just sitting there, right?
Yeah, raw almonds.
Great.
So in my little man purse, if you ever see me out at a comedy show, I always carry a red man purse, and it's in there.
Oh, you should always have those around.
And a Quest bar. So I've been stocking them with Quest bar, because that was the other thing, is I can't live in a vacuum. So it's like, all right, I've been out at shows, like, and I'll tell you what, the first Monday I went to like 2 mics. I went to Manayunk, and then I went to John and Peter's. And like, and like if you ever drive to New Hope, like it's like back roads, woods.
Yeah.
But like my mind was playing tricks on me, because all I saw were pizza shops. Every tree was a pizza shop. And I was like,
mirage.
Yeah, it was like a mirage. But like I made it through, but I was shaking. The first 2 days were rough. And the second day I was in New York, and whenever I'm at like St. Mark's, there's like Ray's Pizza and Bagel on the corner. And like that showcase, they just got this window that really goes for days. Really good
food down
and
there.
And you could go down. It's like, oh, I haven't tried this ride yet.
Yeah, there's pizza, there's sushi. I do the falafel, machmoons. Is that machmoons? Yeah.
That's funny you mentioned that, because that when I went this time, that's where I ended up going to just get something like a spring mix rice base. So I had a little bit of rice, which I usually, one of my meals I have rice with at some point.
I love rice.
Sweet potatoes, lentils. Like I'm trying to eat. Like if I eat a carb, like I'm not stupid. I'm just fat. Like I know what I'm supposed to do.
I know the science behind it.
Yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do.
Well, you used to be able to get food at St. Mark's.
So, because they were a vegan. They were a vegan restaurant, because that's half of Danny. Danny still talks about it in his act about. He does this one line where he talks about, he's like, yeah, the pandemic was tough, and then they started reopening, but they had guidelines like 50% capacity. We've never been able to reach those numbers. It's like nobody wants vegan food. But like now I'm crazy. Like now when I'm in New York, I've like at Gotham found a flaw. I usually go to the Detroit like Lions, Tigers, and Squares. If you go 2 doors down on the corner, there is a I don't know, it's called like Flay Grill or something.
Always a good falafel in New York.
Yeah. So it's always like, hey, I can do that. It's like Chipotle. Like I could do that.
You can do that.
Some couscous base or something with like some brown rice or quinoa.
There you go.
Even better.
And you look great. You look like it's working. You do look like you've cut up. I bet you if we posted a picture,
you're going to see. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's too early. 2 weeks is good, because that's a hard 2 weeks.
No, I'm talking like from like last winter. I guarantee you a picture of you from last winter to now, it looks like a different person.
Yeah.
I'm probably not a different person.
But yeah, no, I agree. Well, it will. I was looking at one. I looked at one on my wall the other day from like when Katie was born, who just turned 8. And like I was like an Adonis when she was born. I looked like Albert Davis.
Kids will ruin your life when it comes to that.
Why do they do that? Oh,
They're just
so
getting in the way.
I did see a video recently. I sent you that that was talking about how parents were complaining about TikTok ruining their kids. And this dude, and I don't know his name. Do you know?
That dude's Gary V.
Gary V.
That's Gary V.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, Gary V curses a lot, which I don't mind. But do people give him shit for cursing all the time?
So
I get a lot of shit for cursing.
I was thinking about that because I wanted, at first, my goal was to have like maybe Neil play it if we live. But then I was like, oh, he uses the F word so much. Like it's overbearing. But I think when I'm listening to him talk, he's just trying to be real. So I think it kind of helps a little bit where it adds this level of like realness. And
so do you think he really curses that much in his life? Or do you think he's performing? And I know we're going on a totally different place of where we're trying to go.
And so it's interesting that he's giving parenting advice.
Kid and he's like, you got to fucking suck it up, man. You fucking, like
he really is like that. And it is almost because it's almost like he can do it because he's giving a sound argument. And you're like, yeah, but it's hard to listen through all the F words. But he had there were two things in particular that I know jumped out to me besides all of the F words, which was like the one where he, was like, oh, you think it's because they're showing all of these fancy cars and houses? He's like, we had cribs, and our parents before that have lifestyles of the rich and famous.
And cribs was fake as shit.
So that content has always been there. But then it's like, and then the other point he made that I thought was interesting is like, when I was 14, he's like, take the app off the phone of your kid's tablet or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean that's.
And it's like he's like, but parents aren't making that decision was his argument because they were letting them. He's like, dude, when I was 14, my parents didn't like make me let me make decisions.
I think that parents are avoiding the fight, the smoke. They don't want the smoke.
No, because
they don't want that kid smoke. So there's like, fine, just take it, and you get into just take it. I'm so stressed out. Just take it. When really you got to be like, now I got to fight at home, and you got to be like, no, you can't have that. I'm sorry. The answer is no. I said no. Why? Because I'm your parent. The answer is no. But right now it's very easy to just find whatever and give in.
That's the teacher in me gets that because well before I was a parent, like it's almost back to school time coming up. You go in to the classroom, young teacher, whatever. You're trying to make some changes, right? or maybe your building makes changes. Maybe you're an older teacher, but now all of a sudden, with all the technology, some districts are going technology free in the classroom. So like they have to put their phones in like little cubbies when they walk in.
So they give up their phone. So in the school day, kid has a cell phone in his or her pocket. Yes.
So yeah, well, it depends. I mean, yes, in my high school, in the middle school, no. When I teach at the high school, yes, they can have it with them for when they're in the hallway, when they're at lunch.
So in the hallway, they can be texting. At lunch, they can be texting, playing the game.
In the bathroom, they can be texting.
Can they be talking in the hallway?
On their phone?
Yeah. Is there service? Is there fucking service?
So the service is not very good, but I don't. That's not a thing because kids aren't talking on their phones.
That's right. So
but they're finger talking all down. They're fingering each other.
Fingering those, yeah.
But because is fingered speech because you're not, you're typing like you talk. But there's
in class.
So then in class they walk in, and some of the classrooms, like the one I was in, somebody had bought one of those shoe racks, hung it over like the closet door, and then numbered them all, and then it matched a number on the desk. So in theory, you do that, right? In theory. So what happens at the beginning, just like parenting, the beginning of the school year happens, everybody puts their phone in. 2-3 weeks in later, number 7 doesn't have a phone in there. Number 9 doesn't have a phone in there. But you just start teaching because you're just trying to teach, and you look over. Oh, should I stop what I'm doing now? Do I have to hold 7 and 9 to the fires?
Well, what is the penalty at your school? Because you can't take someone's phone, right?
If they won't give you the phone, then you send them to the office, or you call the last line of defense is you call the security officer to come to you.
Okay, so because I always kind of felt like you would probably run into this thing of like, that's my property and it cost $1,400.
Correct.
You have no right.
And so a lot of teachers don't want to do that because they don't want that. So basically they tell them to go to the office, and then as they leave, you call the office. Meanwhile, you're stopping a lesson for 28 other kids.
And then you're warning them, we got a cell phone coming down.
And then you say, hey, Jimmy's coming down, Susie's coming down with their cell phone. And that way you don't ever touch it. And you get the disruption. But, it's like one of those things that if you set a standard with the kids and you explain why, I think a lot of them liked kind of getting lost without having to worry about texting or what was going on without them during that 45.
I mean, it's got to be
period.
hard to teach the fucking kid who's. I mean, it's hard to have a conversation with a grown up when they pull out their phone for 12 seconds to send.
I don't know how much this is true, but Gettysburg School District, which isn't too far from us, they one of my fellow colleagues put out an infographic on Facebook, so it must be real.
Oh, it's totally real.
And it said Gettysburg is going device free.
Okay.
And so what they're doing is kind of like what we, if you ever go to a concert, you ever use a Yonder box?
Your phone like doesn't work or something?
Yeah. So your phone works, but it's in it's in the sleeve.
Yeah.
And so they're doing this magnetic sleeve thing so that when they enter the school, they have their own Yonder case. But then they're going to lose their, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things with that.
So the school had to go out and buy a whole bunch of Yonders,
exactly,
which costs tax dollars.
And then if you lose, so their policy said if you lose your Yonder sleeve, you have to buy a new one for $55.
Okay, there you go. So before that, the school bought however many Yonder sleeves for $35 probably.
Yeah. So now they're
Right.
so I guess so now and I've seen some other schools do that, like Los Angeles Unified School District, where they wear it around their neck in that case. But supposedly some of them had a time release or had something, because I think the Yonder box requires a magnet, a really large magnet. Because if you ever go to the concert,
when you buy
somebody
clothes.
at the end has to rub it on that magnet. So I've heard that there are more expensive ones that potentially you could get where somebody could be controlling them, kind of like OnStar. And if you had OnStar in a car, you got locked out of your car, you call the number, somebody pops it open.
But isn't the argument like if an emergency happens, we need to have our phones? That's what
but emergencies happen. So somebody made an argument, which I thought was great. Emergencies happened before that. Yeah. Like my buddy Gasper, he was talking about how he was in grade school or something during 9/11. He was in like middle school and high school. We didn't have cell phones during 9/11. That was an emergency. We trusted that the school was going to keep the kids safe.
Yeah.
So
it's I think the strong word there is trust. I think people are losing trust.
Well,
but I think
I think without cause though. If that's the case, for what? Like what?
I don't know what. I can
see that from the parent perspective.
I think when Columbine happened, the game changed a little bit.
Definitely.
Because now you're like, oh, I might it might be helpful if there was an extra phone or something like that. So
something more could have been done.
But hell, like to have to make our whole plan around that is scary. And
I think it's a bit of I think it's a little intense.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit much.
I don't think
considering every room has a phone. So if something and the
teacher has his or her phone and
push 9, dial out, it's fine. You could figure it out. But yeah, so I think there's enough there that we don't. There's enough thing they could communicate on their devices, their Chromebooks.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a need. I think it's more of a distraction. But yeah, I don't know but so back to the original point, like with the teachers, like I learned how to parent that way because I knew if I was going to make a rule in my class, was I going to hold it up? This past year, I came in halfway through the year after my sabbatical, and I tried to process I usually do in the beginning of the year, and I didn't hold it up. After about like 4 weeks, I stopped doing it because it didn't seem to me to be effective. And it was a point system where I handed out cards. If a kid contributed or said something that I thought was above and beyond, or was just like really thoughtful, I had these Greek god cards I would hand out, and they were like from a playing deck. And so I would just flip them around so they like to catch them, and it just kind of kept things moving and people, try to encourage people to participate. And then I added up so then at the end of the class, I add them up and I keep a scoreboard up in the top left. And then when we reach certain milestones, after we have like 500 points, then we as a class get to go outside for the day. Or, you treat it like the arcade at Dave & Buster's. You pick things that you can educationally do that they consider to be fun.
I mean, that seems pretty good.
But I didn't hold it up because after a while I felt like either they weren't contributing to the level I was expecting them to, and so I didn't want to just give out cards for nothing. So I don't know, but then I just kind of stopped doing it, and then I was like, oh, it's just one of those things of parenting. It's like you start a rule with your kids. That means you got to toe the line with that. And that could be parents. It could be exhausting because you've worked all day. Now you get home and you have to like be the warden at home.
Right.
And you don't want that. You want to have fun with your kids. You want to have enjoyable experiences, but.
And Gary V's point is one that you could take the phone from the kid, but also like
just take the apps limit.
But he's also saying that generationally, we've all had our version of bullshit media coming at us.
Yeah, it's not new.
And our parents thought that the real world was out of this world crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Because that was just this bullshit media coming through with television. And their parents thought the radio was a thing. And their parents thought that the record player was the thing.
That's right.
And everyone's managing this new media that we can't figure out, and it's going to warp our
It's
kids'
all
brain.
yeah. We're always scared by the new. I read a book for work a couple years back where it talked about the blackboard was controversial in its day because teachers were up in arms that kids weren't going to have to remember anything anymore because they're going to remember it. They're going to be seeing it on the board like we were spoiling them all of a sudden. So I think that's just. There's a really good TED talk by a guy named James McWhorter, who I think was a Harvard professor, but he taught. The title of the talk was "Texting is Killing Our Language, JK."
I see what he did there.
Yeah. And he does this whole thing about he shows all of these excerpts from like school principals and superintendents and like officials from like, you know, our parents' era all the way back to the Romans. And every clip he showed was somebody complaining about the next generation and they don't know what they're doing. And blah, blah, blah.
Do you ever feel like growing up, there was kids who definitely watched way too much television and you could like see it and feel it when you were around them?
I don't know, because I probably was that kid.
Right.
Watching.
Like, you know, like a dude who like, you're like, oh, he watches way too much TV. He's all staring at the TV, zoned out, and like can't hear anything else around him.
They told you your eyes were going to like
burn out of your
turn square. I don't know what they would
I
tell
definitely
us.
started to get that with video games. Probably right around then. I was definitely felt that way. I feel like, I know it's kind of going back to it, but the other thing that you guys, I don't know if we've talked about, is the hard thing that parents have to do is if you are going to be strict with your kids on a phone device situation. I think I'm going to fold when it comes to, but all the other kids are allowed to do this, that, and the other. That's like really tough. I know you probably experience
like
that all the
pressure's a
time.
bitch.
Yeah, like peer pressure. That, I mean, I know what I want to do with like if I had a kid, and I just feel like that's going to be that's going to be very hard.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of parents just seem to have a rule for the age when it's appropriate. And, you know, some are going to be different. You're going to have the kids who are like my daughter's going to 5th grade, going to be 10 years old. She's going to be 11 actually this fall. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some kids that are already having a smartphone, but she doesn't need one. She has a tablet.
They do.
We have no intentions of giving her a smartphone.
Well, you see, usually how the door opens up to these things, in my opinion, is it usually starts with a gaming system, Roblox or something, where you can play with other people.
Yep.
And that like hooks you into being like connected and talking and stuff like that. And then somehow that kind of spirals into, I can message my friends on such and such way. And it like, from there, the floodgates open. That's how I see it. Cause that's how I've experienced it.
Yeah.
With my kids. It's like, we do it just for the game. Oh, I only bought this so we can have the game. Oh, they only have it for the game. And then it just goes.
I kind of like the fact, like in my head right now, I would love to just not get my daughters a cell phone until like high school. Because like at that point, because at that point, like
I was thinking the same thing.
They should know. They should know. One, they're not driving or going, and if they're going to be going somewhere, then that's on them to keep in touch with me. You know, because then they're going to know. Like, you know, the only thing I could say is I know some people use it because then the kid has the phone and they know where the kid is because they can use the GPS.
I know.
But like my thinking is I should know where they are, and then when they get to high school, like I can understand the fact that. Or even you know, in middle school, like there are some things on their phone that would probably be a lot easier for them to do for school, to stay in touch. So like I could see 8th grade, 9th grade, you know, them getting it, but still not doing social media apps. Still not. They'll get the cell phone. They can do whatever. But
it's like my age group would have been like, like you hit high school and you had a phone. It was really probably just to call your mom.
Yeah, you don't need social media. I don't need you on that nonsense. I don't need you like. Exactly. You know, none of that stuff.
You can jump on at home on the computer, your tablet, whatever, but like that
phone.
But there's no reason to have a social media account.
Yeah.
You know, at that age, because there's just nothing. Yeah, there's just no reason.
But kind of the problem that grown-ups are addicted to this shit just as bad, maybe even not more than kids. So there's parents out there that are droning out on their phones.
Dude, you're looking at one right here.
Yeah. And then it's like, hey,
Put
you
your
better,
phone away,
Yeah, I
Jay.
know. My daughter will be like that because I know they're seeing me on it. Like,
yeah,
you know.
and you're telling them you
But
can have a phone.
I'm gonna hopefully I'll be the non-example for her. Be like, oh, I don't want to be like my dad.
But that's like back in the day, like these dudes, their dads would come home and drink a ton of beers, and they'd always be like, don't let me.
And they'd be
catch you
watching
drinking
the
beer.
sports and reading the paper and not paying attention.
But then like don't let me catch you drinking. I don't want to see you doing that.
Right.
I remember do as I say, not as I do. That shit like that, and it's like, what do you think's gonna happen? They're gonna start cranking beer. Everyone I know who did that grows up and just drinks beer uncontrollably.
Yeah, there's certain things that either that's what happens. Either they do it because they saw you doing it and they want to emulate you and be like you, or they go away from it because they were sick of the fact that you didn't do X, Y, and Z because you were doing those things, and so as a result, they have a staunch like aversion to it too. So yeah, it's like how does that play out? Like I noticed, like speaking of the guy cursing a lot, I've been like letting an F word slip like when I'm yelling at my daughters sometimes, if I'm being honest. And like I know like Alicia knows she's not allowed to say it. And so today, recently, she's got this like hyper fixation on bugs. Like she was out waiting for the school bus a couple of days, and there must have been like some bugs flying around, and it really freaked her out. So now all she focuses on when she's in an environment that I don't know she's not comfortable with, she just keeps talking about bugs, and I'm like, Alicia, there's no effing bugs. Like shit. Like because dude, it was an hour. Like I was trying to work out, so she came to the gym with me. And she gets in these little like echolalias, what they call it, when they like do repetitive statements. And she was unhinged. Like she was not her normal self. Every 3 seconds, it was like, I love you, daddy. I love you, daddy. Are there bugs, daddy? Daddy, are there bugs? Are there, daddy? I love you. Are there bugs? And it was that for like literally, and I'm like trying to put up like weight on the bench. I'm like counting 6, and all I hear is, "Daddy, I love you."
Good Mr. Olympia.
And then she switched, and then she's like, "Daddy, I hate you. Daddy, I hate you." I'm like, "What are you talking?" And she was just switching. She loves opposites. So like every once in a while, you'd be like, get upstairs and brush your teeth. She's like, I'm going downstairs and unbrushing my teeth.
Nice.
And like, so
good
like,
burn as well.
Yeah, she's a queen. I'm like, let's go to bed. She's like, no, we got to stay up late and play night games. I'm like, I don't know what these night games are, but
she's quick. I like that.
She's right off of it. And then
that's my bad name. Night games. It's mine. TM. You guys can't have it.
Like she was just going. So I'm like, Alicia, enough with the fucking.
That's
now, what does she do? Now she knows you said fuck the shit.
She said so. What she did was she's like, she started saying frickin'. Mm-hmm. So she was like, I'm just gonna go watch my frickin' tablet.
Now she's fucking with you.
Yeah, she's messing with you.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hate you. And then she said something. I was like, don't be like daddy in his potty mouth. She's like, yeah, I hate your potty mouth.
Oh yeah. See, there you go. I haven't been.
But like, I can see that I gotta be careful now. Like Katie, my youngest, knows enough never to say it. And she knows like, oh, he's throwing F words around. He's mad.
So for her, it doesn't even register.
Yeah, which my youngest has the trauma of like having to watch her older sister, see what her sister does, and then try to understand why her sister's doing something. So like she's super perceptive. Like when she does the I love you, daddy, and she's like, you can tell she's kind of aloof. And Katie will just look at me and she's like, oh, daddy, she's just worried about the bugs again. And then so she's just very perceptive about what her sister. So I think she's just going to be super empathetic. I think she's always trying to like understand what's going on around her. But yeah, so it's interesting. Actually, this week was cool. My youngest, they both did the Kimberton Fair, and my youngest got crowned Little Miss Kimberton Fair for her age bracket.
Nice. Okay.
So she got a tiara and a little sash.
You mentioned that with with Rainey.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention that?
Yeah. Yeah, was that not the Little Miss?
She just got crowned Monday.
Oh, okay. So maybe not. That was maybe a different.
Maybe she was applying for. Well, I think that maybe when that episode is, they have to apply for it. She had to do a poster.
Oh, that's what it was.
A project.
Oh, okay.
And then they get named the first day of the fair, and then so she got to march around all week and
she got waving like that.
Yeah, it was good for her because I wanted her to have some confidence because everything's always about her sister. And so this was about her, and her sister got to be there too. She was an ambassador, and she loves it. She's up on stage. She's so excited for her sister. So it was cool. They had this great week, and then the older girls, because there's a junior bracket and a senior bracket, and they all bond together. They go and like work the Birch beer stand for a half hour, and then they go over and do the bike raffle. They have like jobs every
the taffy stand. Is
yeah.
there a taffy stand
There's not a. There should be.
We'll be back right after this message.
I'm Alejandro Morales.
And I'm Rachel Peters.
And we're the hosts of
We're Dating,
a show about love.
Like we are crazies match, but they're opposite.
and like relationships.
Dating.
Very weird and fueled by a lot of tequila.
I don't think so.
Because I was at a point in my life where I was like in my early 20s and I was so lost. Maybe this is good, maybe this is bad. He was also maybe like trying to find himself as well.
Sex. Lots of sex.
I'm a side. That's when you don't really like mouth and hand stuff.
Subscribe now on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and more.
Seriously, Dad. Seriously. Seriously.
No,
I think
you live more. You live like rural, right? You live
So I'm
like,
kind of like in this kind of rural like.
You think urban versus rural? There's a correlation to cell phone use or desire for a cell phone and all that stuff.
I
think
wonder.
the city kids want the phone and are doing more phone type of stuff, where the country kids are just doing more like being outside and being kids.
You hope so, but I think it's a smaller. I don't think it's. I think it's a smaller world now because like everybody's got access to the same things no matter what. I don't know if poverty could always play a part because if you can't,
You don't have
you don't have a phone, or you probably get a phone. I mean, everybody can probably get a phone, even if it's like an older generation iPhone. You just might not be able to use it if you're not on Wi-Fi.
Right.
I can see things like that being a thing. So then the kids are congregating at like the local, McDonald's or whatever, not because they're getting food, but because they're getting the free Wi-Fi so they can get on the apps. So I think, I wonder if that plays a part in it too. And, you hope you'll see a throwback where everybody will just get out to riding bikes and out.
Baseball cards came back.
Baseball cards
are back, right? So things do cycle around. Maybe
I think that'll happen.
Phones are dumb.
We'll have some great power outage at some point, and then we'll all have to.
That was what Y2K was supposed to be. That right? That shit. Well, the thing about social media that gets me, especially, so what's popular, right? Instagram, obviously, Facebook, Meta platforms, TikTok, right? They don't promote you being a unique person. It promotes you doing what everyone else is doing. And like following the trend and
trending
then getting
audios, trending dances.
Yeah. So it's like everyone's doing the same dance, and someone you've never seen, heard, know who they are is doing the same dance as, I don't know, something Justin Timberlake posted, and 50 million people, I don't know the numbers, 50,000 people like it and comment and yada yada.
Yeah.
And then you see everyone does the exact same thing. So it's not rewarding you for being unique. You're not like, oh, I did this thing, look how cool I am, and they go, look how unique person A is. It's more like, look how person A can do what person B and C and D and E, they're all doing the exact same thing. Isn't that cool? That's what I don't like about it, is like the following of the herd.
Even within some of those trends, people find the ways to be unique. Like there's like a silly one now where it's like a 1 second video. Everybody's like, oh, my 1 second video gets a million views.
Blink noise.
And usually it's something like that, or it's just a quick, like the video doesn't finish. And some of them are unique with what they were doing. Like one person like dropped a cup and it just fell out of their hand, but it was just didn't quite make it to the floor. And like, you're intrigued. And I must have watched that one like 4 times. I'm like, I was waiting to hear it, hit the floor. So it was I was watching so many different people use that time in a different way. So like in that is where I see creativity come through. But like you're saying with the dances and some of that other stuff, then you're seeing the sheeple, the people that are just doing the trends and singing the cover songs and the
Right. As a kid who doesn't have, I don't have kids, but my perspective definitely has changed. If I see like a little kid dancing, like out, just kind of like practicing, they're not even on. I know it might be for TikTok, and somehow that makes me sad.
Yeah,
I don't know why. You would see it before TikTok.
At least he's getting exercise.
Yeah, I'm just like I spin it. I'm just like, they're dancing. Maybe it's just fun. That's cool. But every once in a while, you'll see it. I'm just like,
did you guys when you guys were younger? Did you make up dances and shit in your house?
Was that definitely. But like just for ourselves, probably. Yeah, like me and my sister would be just being goofy.
Dance, or like me and my sister, and we would just do these dances, and like I don't really know what the goal was. Like there was never a performance or anything.
It was just to be silly.
Yeah. It was just like have fun, and we would do them at nauseum, and then we'd do a different one and a different one.
To Jay's point, right? Or to your point as well. It's just like now it's got likes attached to it.
Yeah.
Well, now you have the ability to share that, because there was stuff like I like too. The one when I was real young, I had a boombox that you could, if you had a blank tape in there, you could, record.
Yeah.
So like I would record myself in my wrestlers. I was big into the WWE, so I would like commentate as I was fighting.
That's pretty cool.
And do stuff like that. Or like I remember when we were teenagers, somebody had a video camera and we would get, a little blitzed up, and then we would record ourselves having like a talk show or something.
Nice.
Okay. And it wasn't a way back then. It was just it's on somebody's VHS. We have no idea who has it. Somebody has it, or
you kind of hope it pops up so you can see it
right.
again,
You're like, or not. I might not want to ever see it again. I don't know what's on there, but like we didn't have the chance to then hit a button and share it with the world around us. I mean that. Like, so, yeah, I think you're right. The content, like what this Gary V was, like what he's saying is the content's always been there. We're just, it's got a new dress and it's got a new vintage look. It's got a new look to it, but there's a lot of vintage content within it that I think we're all just getting scared with what we don't know and what's new.
Yeah.
It does feel different, though. It does feel.
We've talked
different.
about this before, and I know people and people should keep commenting on it because, from a parent's perspective, we keep coming back to it.
Yeah,
and to Gary V's thing, I disagree with him on one point. I understand technology, but it feels it's compounding. Like it's not just there is a version of it. There's a version of it, of course, but it's compounding. It feels like it's getting more and more intense.
Feels different. I understand what he's saying, and he does have a thing going. But it just feels a little different, like the sharing, the ability to direct message and DM, and someone can send a picture or a thing. People can AI a face and the thing. It just feels a little bit different. And the AI shit is really fucking weird because you can make people say things they never said, and that's a whole other can of worms. But it just feels a little different. So though I agree with him, I still feel like, but it's a little different, Gary. And you know that. And like, let's be honest, Gary, if it wasn't for these phones and social media, respectfully, most people probably wouldn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Right. So it is opening a door. Like, look how he is reaching people through the very phone that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. So there are so I think you got to list the pros and cons of it. What are you trying? Like, if the kid wants a phone, we got to know why. And I think if you start there and you figure that out, you have a conversation, and you do some of those things logically. And I remember we had Austin. If you remember, we had Austin Levengood on back here. Where he doesn't have social media now.
That's right.
He had a upbringing that was rough or whatever too. But like he seemed very level headed in that, and so I found a lot of solace in knowing that the younger generation is seeing it and being aware of it. So with the AI stuff, to that point, like I think that's just going to make us more like questioning. I think we all have to now wonder if what we saw is what we saw.
And then there's that. We're gonna have to deal with someone thinks that's a good idea to introduce to
the so that's world. The problem is like you see that it's like I remember when like your grandparents would walk in, you'd be playing in the latest video game, and they thought they were watching an actual NBA game because they didn't realize it was that good. That's what happens. They see some of this. Your grandfather sees that AI on there, and their faculties and neurons aren't firing at full blast, so they take for what they see at face value. So I think that's the hard part. We intake our media, we intake our information in such short bites that it's going to be easy for, I think the word is circular reporting. When things happen like that and people pass around false information, they pass around that AI thing thinking it's the real thing, not knowing it. And the scary part is in today's world, that concept of circular reporting where you kind of don't know where it came from. The generation of the meme, nobody knows where it starts, but now we all know it. That's the part that gets scary, is because we don't sit and talk and think long. Everything's made in quick decisions based on little information.
Well, you think it's weird that no, I guess it's not weird. It's just logic. But when I hear something, the first thing I think is I got to know there's got to be more to this. You know what I mean? Like that's the first thing I think is there's got to be more to this, and there's a lot of questions that need to be answered before I can feel. Like I want to react, because I used to just react like, but now it's like, hold on. There's 24 hours in a day. I just saw 7 seconds of something. There was a before and after. No, I need some facts.
Yeah, I hope most people are doing that, because that's the way it needs to be.
I see a lot of people questioning that on Instagram, I feel.
Yeah.
Where that's like, okay, hold on, this is what else, you may see a fight or a thing, or a Karen did this, or this guy stole it, whatever the hell they're trying to get you to react to. And then a lot of people are like, but what else? Like people are not just stopping with the 14 seconds or the minute and 10 seconds they saw. It's like, what else happened around this? Why did it cut off? And a lot of people will question, why did it cut off at this? Why didn't we get to see so-and-so's reaction? Why, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I kind of feel like if it's in the comment sections, at least people are thinking that way, and multiple people, more than one person is. It's not just me questioning it,
Yeah.
But.
No, you're right. That's a good thing about the comment section. I posted a thing about my daughter recently and how she interprets language through this thing called Gestalt process. And I guess I misspoke in something, and somebody jumped on me, and it was so not the point of the video, and it didn't really make a difference. But to your point, they made it a point to take a moment and comment and clarify something. Now, it didn't really matter for the story. And I said, and I thanked them. I said, thank you for mentioning that. I was like, good thing my tag says Jay Yoder comedy and not Jay Yoder medical doctor.
Yoder, right,
so I said, if that was the case, then you could come at me. But other than that, I said, it's just a joke. But you're right. People are going into the comments. They are. So my thing is, they probably heard the first part of that video and then stopped listening and went down. Because that's the other thing. I was watching the RNC with my buddy when Hulk Hogan came on, because WWE, no matter where, if I saw the Hulkamaniac, and that was wild. But as he's talking, as Donald Trump was talking, I'm talking to my buddy, who's this big investigative journalist, and he was teaching for NYU, and so he's very cerebral. So I'm like, but dude, I said nobody was listening to what they were saying because everybody was probably watching it in live streams. So as they're saying stuff, all these people are doing are waves of emojis, and they're not listening. When Donald Trump only showed one infographic during his thing, and it was a one on immigration, and it was on 7 screens, the same thing. It was overload. So it wasn't presented in a way where you could read this and I'm going to talk about policy. It was presented to a bunch of mindless people who were only going to look up from their live stream to see the graphic, and they weren't even reading the graphic. All that they were reading was immigration.
Yeah.
And it was just and I'm like, all it was these kids now, it's like the Matrix. So they're not seeing zeros and ones, they're seeing emojis and likes, and it's just, that's the part that scares me, because you can get so indoctrinated into stuff. Hulk Hogan's up there and he's like, what are you gonna do when Donald Trump and the Trumpomaniacs run all over you? I'm like, are you telling me there's another January 6th coming? What are you doing right now, Hulk?
You're whipping up these things.
It was just so it's so out of hand that I think because people aren't really paying attention, and the debates aren't like they were when McCain and Obama ran, where they were having stuff debates, and they're talking about policy, and they're saying why they differ with this person. That's out the window now. And it's just
now it's free. It's freak show central. It's just a reality. It's what's the show? The Real Housewives of whatever rich people place, right?
Yeah.
They have those reunions where they all come back and they're like, well, fuck you. They're like, fuck you, bitch. You the one who tried to take my man.
It is. It's
doing all
one of those
that
after the rose things.
Yeah. Or a road. It's like that. It's like the Vanderpump. My wife watches the Vanderpump.
Yeah.
And they have those reality shows and and you're a fucking two-faced bitch. It's pretty much like that. That's what our things are. I mean, we always end up on a political kind of deal, but I like it. During that thing, they were talking about golf. What percentage,
in the debate when he was
I said the debate.
Yeah.
What percentage of Americans even fucking play golf? How out of touch are you? You're talking about this elitist sport that costs $200 to play.
It takes up how much land and water?
Yeah. It costs for the clubs and this, and you got to wear this at the country club.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about this elitist ass sport of golf when real shit's going on.
Yeah.
But it's because it's such a freak show now. That is just how can I embarrass this person, and how many people will share, and comment on it, so the world can see how I tune this guy up by just embarrassing him and saying shitty remarks.
Well, yeah, and if they were guests on Two Bears One Cave, then that's the appropriate conversation for that.
Right.
But if you're on a national stage for a presidential debate, why are you wasting? That was my argument to my buddy. I was like, I guess my disappointment is in the amount of time. So Donald Trump was up there. He's giving his speech. This is his time allotted to talk on a platform that the world was watching, and just the choice in what he talked about was what disappointed me. Like, he has this stage, he has this audience, and he was just up there smug, like he was talking at like after he just won the tournament, and somebody let him talk at dinner and give and he's just up there spewing, like vomiting whatever he was talking about. That is just like, it's disappointing. You know, see because then so flash forward to the Kimberton Fair, they give away a bike every night, and it's this rural, like all these people who are clearly in that neighborhood of MAGA country, and you see the guy, he's given the one bike, this girl wins the raffle, it's free to enter, you just have to be there and be between 5 and 12. This girl gets it, he's like, what's your name? She's like, Rosa. He's like, where are you from? And you're expecting everyone, she's like, Mexico. And you can just and you can hear the guy, like, he like rebooted in his mind. He's like, give it up for Rosa from Mexico. And you could just hear, like, there were, because it's next to the beer garden, and you're like, there was a guy in there that was just like rebooting. He's like, wait a second, they are taking our job, and now they are taking our children's bikes. Like, and it was just like, it was just funny because, wow, this person, so it's just one of those things where you're like, wow, like, we're in a state now where we're not.
Yeah, I said this joke the other night, and I don't think I can say it. I'll be able to say it much longer, so I just talk about it on here. But it was about how, like, actually we were doing a show the night when Trump got shot in the middle of PA.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. I was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
but the joke I was saying is, like, people were praying, everyone was praying, and I prayed, and my prayer, and God answered my prayer, and the prayer was, dear Lord, please don't let this shooter be black or gay. And I don't think that we are all ever think about how lucky we are that it wasn't a black person, an immigrant, a gay who shot this dude, because I don't think America could have handled that. I think everyone exhaled when they found out it was like a white dude.
When it looked like every other version of a Columbine,
I think everyone
shooter.
In America was just like, thank God.
Oh,
like,
exactly.
Could you imagine if that was like a black dude or a Mexican dude or something? What would be going on in the streets of this country, and what kind of hate would be flying across? It would be a really, really fucked up situation if it was. I don't think enough people talk about how lucky we are. I feel like everyone exhaled a little bit and was like, thank God.
Well, then nobody would, like, that's the thing, is like that kind of stuff wouldn't, like, it's such a culture thing that it is like the minute they showed him, and I don't know what's going on with that whole thing, but like, yeah, I think when they saw it and you're like, oh, if you said, draw me a sketch of a school shooter, that kid's face would have come up. You know what I mean? Like, that's the reality of it, is we're all thinking it. So it's just like, I don't know if they've discovered more, if they let more about who he was, but Well, yeah. So, we talk about information, social media. Things are going to come up. We don't even going to not even know if they're true or not, or in between. Because I saw a thing that came up where they were saying that he was that person was a trans individual. Okay.
But then they're saying that the picture they're showing of him being in trans or whatever, I don't even know if I'm describing that properly, was not even him. It was just it was a person who looked like it could have been him transitioning or just.
They just want to tell the narrative. Now it's like, because we don't know, because we can't talk to this person.
Right. So now
they can spin like stats. You can just spin it to match whatever narrative you want, and nobody will know enough to.
Yeah, we're butting up against. Would you guys agree we're butting up against like an ideology now? Like, it's kind of, and I mean that just people who really just want information and it to be objective, and then just like anyone else who might have like a worldview that for them feels very important that it needs to be this other thing.
Well, I think, because I think whenever we talk about stuff, the reality is, what the core of reality is versus our all shared interpretation of it.
Yeah,
is where it gets lost.
Well, and you see it with Israel and Palestine all the time now. Like, depending on what algorithm line you get in, and what news media does what, you're either going to see this side acting a certain way, horrible people, or this side being defensive, right? And this side's a horrible, and you're just going to get, you don't even know which way is
and
up.
Everybody has their, or like the origin story that each side is holding on to is a different origin story or a different thing they're tethering to. So it's like, even though you would think that they're tethering to the same event, they're not. They're holding on to different ideals and things, and what lets them double down is a different thing. It's not a shared reality. So Yeah, it's like when that gets the case, how do you it's a tug of war that nobody wins.
Yeah. And I'm seeing things where things are being posted and someone's going, oh, that's Syria from 2016. Why would you show that here? But the caption is, so-and-so soldier does such and such to so-and-so. And then someone's like, oh no, that's from Istanbul, Turkey in 2010. Why would you show that? But it's the same thing, the fight for the truth. So now the truth, some people are going to hold on to that truth. Some people are going to say that's horseshit. And then people are going to fall in the middle.
I think bringing that back to like the whole parenting thing, like how do parents discern if what their kids are telling them is true? Or, oh, everybody's getting one, or, oh, everybody has this account, or I'm using it for X, Y, and Z. And it becomes weapons of mass confusion for a parent.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's the part where, to your point, eventually you just give in because you're sick of fighting the war.
You're going to be like, just,
you're just put the white flag up and say, hey, it is what it is. Rosa from Mexico just won a bike. All right. I don't know what to tell you. but at some point you just have to because enough's enough. You only have so much emotional currency to spend on any kind of given moment. So you got to ask yourself, how much do I care about this one moment? And how much is
this a battle or a war? Is this just a small battle that walking away from or is this a war that I got to win because it'll turn the tide?
Yeah,
that's kind of how I try to do it. Like, how big is this, and what's it mean?
And that's what that's what parenting is. It's like pick your battlefields, pick your choices. Like me and my my eating, I was like, I have to make all these choices, and I have to do even within my own self. So I'm making these choices of, what am I putting in my body? What am I not putting in my body? Making concessions of, oh, if I'm out and I get stuck somewhere, and I'm too exhausted with myself, I can't just put the white flag up because then I'm giving up on myself. Right. In the same way, I don't want to just put the white flag up for my students or my daughters because they deserve for me to toe that line, which I think is what that Gary's point is. We need to toe the line. We need to have a backbone, because at the end of that clip, he's like, oh, parents don't have a backbone anymore. And I think that's the truth, is we're not sticking to integrity. We're putting a white flag. Yeah. Once we realized you could wave a white flag, once people realized divorce was an option, once we realized once we realized we could get Ozempic, all of a sudden, then we had a fairy godmother. We had a magic pill. There were beanstalks that would, take us to the giant. And you're just like, it's just too much now. We've opened up Pandora's box.
What I feel like that parent that was strict, that is strict. Like I think of the Wonder Years, Kevin from Wonder Years, his dad.
Yeah.
That dad was around when we were growing up. You would go to your friend's house and that dude's dad would be that guy.
Yeah.
And he would tell you, you were his kid. He didn't give a shit. You were in his house. And he was going to tell you what you needed. And there was there was parents like that around. My mom was like that.
It takes a village.
And and you're not going to fuck around. That parent doesn't exist. I don't see that parent much anymore. That's I will fight you, kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not because I'm angry at you, because I have to teach you something. You know what I mean? I feel like you see a lot of that, I have to teach you thing kind of go away.
Why do you think it's just overwhelming?
Well, I think I don't know if anybody, if everybody just is like, oh, it's not my kid. We live in a society where oh, it's not my kid. But I don't know, my wife's like that. If there's a friend coming over playing and something happens that's outside of it, she's really good at redirecting and explaining why we don't say that here, or why do we don't do that here.
Does she hammer drop, or does she?
No, she's very good at not making them wrong, but just immediately redirecting that and saying, why don't we say this instead? Or why don't we do this instead? So she's just really good at that. So I think if you handle it that way, then you're not dropping the hammer. And that's when you put baby in a corner. And that's when that person's like, well, you're not my parent. And so I think if you come at it from a place of love and just saying, well, there's a reason what you're doing right now is either.
Have you had to divorce any friends? Has your daughter had any friends that you're you know what, you can't be, you got it, get away?
Not at this point. No, we haven't had anything like that where we were you can't hang out with so-and-so. I think it's still young. My youngest is 8 and she's the one that's really the more out and social one. So it's
do you think you will get to that point?
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that if we thought somebody was being a bad influence, or
if toxicity came into your circle.
Yeah, I think
no problem being
for get away. Absolutely. I think
that's very.
Why
important.
would you hang out with so and so? I think you got to see it from the beginning. You got to be able to when they're having those interactions. So don't just let the kids run around without you being nearby, so that you can at least have your ear to the ground. Like, as a teacher, I got to realize that even though it's 4 minutes in between class, my ear is listening to the stuff that they're saying.
Right.
Even though they're not on the clock right now, I got to be paying attention to that stuff, because you gotta have a pulse on what's going on. So if I go into a meeting with the parent, I can say, in my class they're doing great, but I did hear some commentary in the hallways about X, Y, and Z. So, that way you're just providing information. If you can, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's just, that's what it is. It's a lot. We're doing so much. We're trying to cram so much into our days and do so much extra stuff, that it gets to be too much. And I think at some point, we got to look at our lives and say, where am I cutting corners that I shouldn't be cutting corners? And why am I doing that? Why am I too tired? Why am I?
I have a question for you. Do you feel better? You're eating healthy, you're working out. You feeling better?
I feel amazing. I do.
Yeah, you look better. I don't want to give you blow up.
I feel
you look healthier. You look better.
I feel better. I'm super confident just in general, even though I know it's like physical wise, it's like that Rome wasn't built in a day. It's not going to go away in a day. But I feel better. I feel clearer. I feel more confident. I just feel comfortable. I feel more comfortable.
You look better. You look better. I think that's great. I think that's good that you committed and stuck to it.
And I want
dude who does that.
I want to do that. When I want my daughters to see a good version of me. I don't want them to get any bad habits from me.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great motivator.
Well, dude, that when you have to restrict yourself from something is the hardest part. When you're just so used to just doing whatever, when you have to really be disciplined about anything.
Yeah.
And that's all it is I was, so I know I can be disciplined. I just was choosing not to be disciplined. This was the arena I was letting. This was the one I was giving the device and waved the white flag up. It was just whatever. That's what I did. I did for the last 3 years or whatever since COVID. I just that was the part of me. That was the inner child in me. I was not parenting. I was just saying, whatever. Yeah, here's a device. Go have fun.
In 2 weeks, you're not even gonna have to think about it. It's just gonna be how you do things.
So and it is. It's good. It's like smoking. I gave up smoking. It's been 8 years. It'll be 8 years, in 2 weeks, since I quit smoking. Good. And that was something that you just had to get over the hump of the stuff. The only thing hard about with food is I don't have to ever smoke. I have to eat.
You have to eat.
So it's so now it's just sticking to the plan and not letting yourself get in a position where you're not ready to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I would say as someone who is, as you've been you've seen the big kid in me. You've been oh no, I've seen him. It is a mind frame change, but it's not like smoking. Yeah,
it is. It is. You constantly have to be on top of it. I know. I mean, I've gained and lost hundreds of pounds over my years, and it's I know myself, but I also know I don't. I know what needs to be done, and it's simple. It really, like you said, it's simple. Here's my mom's a sweetheart. She's coming back. She was visiting she's still up in Sayre with her friends.
What?
So she's coming back next week, and she's already jazzed up that now that she's retired, she's going to be my personal chef. So she's
that's
already got 30
make food for that is
she's got 30 recipes. She said she has ready. So
that's awesome.
Her days are going to be spent now, getting all of the prep so that I had then she'll bring it over, and so I won't even have to do the prep. She'll have it all
that's really nice,
stocked out for me. And I'm going to be home now.
Charge you for that?
No. I'm gonna put money into her account for the food for the budget,
so she can
so that she can buy all of what she needs, and then she's gonna then
that's a come up. That's a life-changing event right there.
So that's gonna be. So I knew if I got started on my own, so I put a month in by myself. Because then I had to invest. I had to invest my own money in this.
I had to invest my own before she comes and starts making food. She's
I'm back to cooking things I hadn't been doing since before the pandemic. I'm finally back to doing, and I'm not the biggest one was breakfast, because I just wake up and ignore it. I just be let me get lost on my phone. Let me get lost in something.
I hate breakfast. I love
and then all of a sudden you're I didn't eat yet, and then you make a shitty choice and.
You're I didn't eat yet. It's 1 o'clock. Fuck. Yeah. The morning was till now. And then if you start looking for food at 1, you probably won't end up eating till at least 2.
Yeah. It's
not
bad.
More.
It's bad news. So I feel good. I feel ready to to take on every day, and it hasn't affected. I was worried about like, being out at the clubs and stuff like that. Most of the clubs don't have food, and the ones that do, it's shit. Like, I'm going to Punchline. No offense, Punchline, but their foods are not amazing.
We've done road stuff together. I'll wait and then just get like fruit right at it. Like when we stop, I'm just gonna get fruit at the. Luckily enough, we have that privilege of like some gas station Sheets or something.
Yeah, something. And like there's enough choices I know I can make if I get real stuck. And I'm out somewhere and I get to a Wawa or even a Wawa. I'm like, all right, give me the watermelon. I'd probably even do like a burrito bowl, but like over beans instead of rice or something. And like, because I'm like more of a savory guy, so do like stuff like that. Because I'm like, all right, I can do that. It'll be high in protein. It'll be low in carbs. It's not bad. So it's like, all right, even if I get stuck in a jam, I know I can find something.
We're leaving on a really good note because we talk about that mind frame. Albert and I obviously deal with like the mind frame sometimes. I've seen you also, Albert, not to put you on blast. I've seen you go ham in a grill. We both have. Yes. Like, what does Albert have right now? He's got like 2 bags of chips. Like, he's got he's eating teriyaki, like something that I've never seen anyone eat.
I would call it relapse. I'm like an 80-20 clean.
It's a little bit. If you're sleeping next to us on the car ride home, I'm not surprised. It's like, I don't know what he just did.
I will say, once I get the engine running, once I've been like a month, 2 months of it clean, like I will do like in every 8 days, like
eat some pancakes,
just not think about it and just do whatever. But I gotta let the engine rev a little longer before I
think 80-20s. You can be very good with 80-20.
I
good life. You can have a cheesesteak. You can have some, like, I like waffles in the morning. Waffles are fucking delicious. You know what I mean? I don't eat a lot of them. But if you're 80-20, I think you're good.
Yeah. It's all good in moderation.
There you go. Do you guys want to just hit the social medias and stuff like that? Tell people to keep watching.
Please hit us up. Seriously Dad Pod. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram. Comment, like, subscribe, share with this. Come on, we're gonna hopefully do another live podcast.
We may have something brewing. We got surprises for. We got something brewing. We're working.
So check out our social medias. I'm at Jay Yoder Comedy. JayYoderComedy.com.
Sorry.
What about you, Stud?
Albert Davis Comedy. I just talked over your fucking plug. I apologize.
No, you're good.
They know it though. If they watched this far, they already know it.
That's right. All right, man. Good week.
Seriously, Dad. Peace.
Seriously, Dad.
Seriously, Dad.
Thank you for listening to the Dads. For once, give these daddies a break. And maybe follow, subscribe, like, and comment to the Dads on Instagram and YouTube at SeriouslyDadPod. Rate and review Seriously Dad Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Seriously, Dad.
Hey, how you doing? This is Neil Wood, one of the co-owners of Drop 10 Media Network and who helps run Biggest Little Comedy. You can check out all the other stuff we do at drop10.com. We've got podcasts, live comedy shows, and so much more. Go over there, support your favorite podcasts, follow them, subscribe. We appreciate it. Again, we're 100% DIY, just a bunch of creatives trying to make it in this, and give us some feedback. We always enjoy a little feedback. Thanks.
This has been a Drop Tent Media production.